Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Well, it's going to start right about now. Welcome to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis, right here every day at 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. 10 o'clock Central. Got some big stuff today. Kentucky fell to Ole Miss last night for the first time since 2011. Beat them 70-62, and that's not all. Basically, KJ Buffin is our player of the game, as you can see right there. He is our player of the game. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. He did foul out of the game, but he was the double-double performer of the game. Devontae Shuler also added 17 points, went 3 for 3 from behind the arc. Sammy Hunter with 11 points, went 3 for 5 from 3. He had a big, big game. But KJ Buffin with the double-double is our player of the game. The first time Ole Miss has defeated Kentucky since 2011. That's nuts. Since 2011. So, basically, we told you yesterday, Ole Miss matched up very favorably with Kentucky. And the way you can figure out this basketball team is teams that are struggling with not making outside shots. The Tennessees, the Kentuckys, the Missouris of the world. Ole Miss matches up very, very favorably with them. Now, there's teams like Alabama that people don't match up with them that well at all anyway, but they shoot so many threes that puts Ole Miss at a disadvantage because Ole Miss just doesn't have the shooter. And whenever Ole Miss performs well, and they shot the ball really well last night. I think it was, 46% from 2, 61.5% from 3, held Kentucky to 37 and 25. And that's the reason Ole Miss won the game. Kentucky had 28 boards, Ole Miss 42, so Ole Miss kind of owned the glass. 16 assists for Kentucky, 15 for Ole Miss, so Kentucky shared the ball more. And Ole Miss fouled a little bit more than Kentucky. But it was a good game. Again, first time since 2011, Ole Miss has won against Kentucky. So anytime you play Kentucky and can beat them in basketball, it is a fun experience. And Kentucky is going to, provide that. Now, it doesn't change the hole that Ole Miss has dug for itself in the last couple of weeks with losses at Mississippi State, or against Mississippi State and against Vanderbilt. You win both of those games, and so far you're in the tournament, no problem whatsoever. Now it doesn't look that great. And Vanderbilt, again, who we just lost to Saturday, is coming into the Pavilion this Saturday as well. It's something to keep an eye on, but Ole Miss this year, just this year, it might change next year with Deshaun Ruffin and those guys a year in for Matthew Morrell, James White, Grant Slatton, Sammy Hutter, another year in the system, stuff like that. It might change, but we do not match up well with teams that let it go. And Vanderbilt is very much a 3-and-layup team. You're not going to see too many mid-range jump shots from them. Now, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that they don't do them because they're shooting relatively well from outside the arc. And Vanderbilt is getting better, as you can see, as you saw Saturday, and you'll see again this Saturday. They are taking steps. They've beaten Ole Miss and Mississippi State in the last couple of weeks. They probably split those games, and Ole Miss and State, for that matter, just doesn't match up well. Now, if you can shoot the three-point shot and you're making your shots, Ole Miss is going to be in trouble. If you're struggling with that, Ole Miss is going to get you because they are better and more talented defensively. It's just a fact of the matter. Also, in baseball, last night, Ole Miss defeated, Memphis, I think 16-4. Yeah, 16-4. Drew McDaniel got the win, 2-0. Stinnett took the loss. It was interesting. It was a chilly night at Swayze Field. I mean, it was in the upper 30s, low 40s, depending on which thermometer you look at. And that caused some control issues with pitchers. You're not as precise as you could be because of the temperature outside. But I think Memphis gave up, let's see, how many walks did they give up? 14. 14 walks in a game. That's more than a normal game of hits. So you add those walks with the hits. Ole Miss ended up with 11 hits. So 14 and 11, that's 25. That's 25 base runners in a baseball game. You're not going to ever win a game doing that, period. I mean, you still have to get 27 outs. You take away double plays and things like that. But 25 base runners in the game between walks and hit batters. Memphis was in trouble once that started going. And, Drew McDaniel settled down and got the win. But it got to the point where, Ole Miss was up 10-3 in the third inning, after the third inning. So the game was essentially over. I mean, Ole Miss added spot runs in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th. But, I mean, that is an unbelievably big gap to go, even if for a third of a game. That 10-3 game, it was over. Ole Miss was going to win. It was rough. The player of the game in baseball was Justin Bench. He went 3 for 4 with 5 RBIs. With a triple. He did also walk as well. Had a sac fly. 2 putouts on the game. So good game for Justin Bench. He's hovering up around 375 right now in batting average. So he's one to keep an eye on as this moves forward. And just looking at the numbers, Ole Miss, believe it or not, is not related. I'm not, putting any stock in it necessarily, but Ole Miss is undefeated in games with John Rice Plumlee plays. That's a weird stat, but that's a stat nonetheless. Ole Miss took care of Memphis last night. Now, tonight, they are going to play JSU. And what does that mean? That means A, don't screw up. Let's see, we need to go to Twitter real quick. Sorry about this. And we will get there where we need to be. Also, just before we get into the JSU game, Gus Malzahn does not owe there's not a single mitigating point to his salary and his buyout based off taking the UCF job. This will be the greatest double dipping probably in the history of man. Can you imagine getting all that money and then getting all that money and then getting all that money? It is crazy, and just off a victory over Alabama, this is an example of people getting very emotional, making a decision, and it coming back to bite them. But they did beat Alabama. Alabama ended up winning the national championship that year, and there you go. All that money just wasted. because of an upset win. So, we are looking, see if any news has been given about pitchers tonight, maybe. Okay, I do not see it at this point. It's probably going to come out in the next hour or so with the lineups and all of that going on. But, you know, we still have a lot to get to in this show. We're going to talk a little bit about the opening up of Mississippi and Texas and what that could mean to a Pac Swayze, a Pac spring game. The first time to really just go and see Lane Kiffin could be the spring game, so this could be a boon for that. They're talking about being 2 months ahead of schedule, getting every American vaccinated that wants it. They're talking about by May. So that's good for football season as well. And, I mean, there's just a really good chance we could get a hold of this and not necessarily be back to normal, because what happened the last year and was allowed to happen the last year changed everything. It changed the way we look at work itself. So getting back to normal really means a new normal, and it's going to be a hybrid type situation. If you try to force people to go back to the way things were, there's going to be problems, because they found deficiencies, and the technology allows that we do not have to clog up the roads and go into a brick and mortar business for 6 hours just so a manager can lord over you and basically micromanage you to death. That isn't needed. That is not something that people are looking forward to getting back to. So, but as this goes on tomorrow, I'll get to that after the break. But we have a lot of good stuff coming up. We have basically, my schedule this week is going to be a little wonky. Bear with me for that. We're planning on doing a midweek wrap-up show tonight. I've got a special guest for that. Should be about, let's see, the game's at 6:30. Should be at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So we'll see. And, you know, that should be fairly cool. I'm in training with my other job right now, so the schedule is like 12 to 4 today, 10 to 2 tomorrow, and then like 8:30 to 12 on Friday. So it could mean that the POMcast is delayed a little bit, like especially the Friday one. We may have to push off tomorrow's POMcast because of the training, because they're just right in the wheelhouse. So I apologize about that. Darby and Chris will be back next week. You can get with them, and they'll have some good information. And again, a special guest tonight that will, that might, I don't know, get you pretty excited about what's going on. So a little instant reaction of the Tuesday and Wednesday night games tonight. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll go off on the whatever tangent about the reopening and things like that. But until then, stick around.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis. We've gone over Ole Miss's win over Kentucky, yay. Ole Miss's win over Memphis in baseball, yay. And let's see, I need to get on Twitter with basically Ole Miss women's basketball because there's some awards that needs to, some credit that they need as well. Look at that. I can just bring another keyboard in. Let's see. But it's pretty cool and a testament of what Coach Yo is building. Let's see. Where's that at? Madison Scott was named SEC Freshman of the Year. Congratulations to her. That is pretty cool. But I hate to say it, there's more. Let's see, it looks like Collins made all freshmen as well, and Shakira Alston made first team all SEC. Congratulations to Coach Yo's ladies. You can see the build. You can see it coming. I've been on this for months at this point, that the build was well on its way. So congratulations to them. Now, the state of Texas and the state of Mississippi opened up, and they did away with the mask mandate. They opened up their business at 100%. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean indoor events like a concert or something. We'll have to see exactly what that means and what the percentage is. Remember also, there is no anti-liability that has been passed to protect employers for this, so that's going to lead to slower openings too. Now, Florida, where I am, is pretty well open. I mean, you can kind of do what you want to do, but there are some things like 50% capacity and stuff like that. So we need to look at what this really means. Just because the state says something doesn't mean that it's going to go away, because private businesses need to be respected and also have rules themselves. Yeah. So it's something to just pay attention to with this. Just because this has been said on Monday doesn't mean everything is all in position to open up and that a Pac Swayze is due tonight. It doesn't really necessarily work like that. There's SEC rules in play. There are, local and municipality rules in play. It's a very big scatter shot, and you need to adjust your expectations over what was, kind of a publicity stunt yesterday with Mississippi and Texas doing that. Texas is doing that on their Independence Day is symbolic, if more than anything else. It was planned. It was for publicity. It was, basically something to push it along and give a little bit of a distraction from the winter storm thing. because they went through some things with the winter storm, and now they're going through some things with privatized electric companies giving out enormous bills because of scarcity of energy. So they're going through some things in Texas right now. I was talking to my other company boss and everything. He lives in the Austin area. You know, it's pretty rough what they went through. You know, the one piece of kryptonite for the southern states that they're never prepared for, like on the line with Texas all the way down to Florida, if you just follow that deep south line, is extreme cold weather. They're not prepared for it because why would they be? Whenever it's usually a 20 or 25 year storm that comes through. So either way, we are through it. And they're doing this kind of as a distraction technique. Mississippi did it, honestly, in order to facilitate Duty Noble and Swayze being more filled up. That's absolutely the reason they did it. Because not doing it and the way it's set up is hurting communities, Starkville and Oxford. They want more people going to games and all that. So we'll have to see what Keith Carter and they're probably going to ramp it up a little bit, you know. But I don't expect them to go and fully open it right away. I just think that is way too flippant and it could lead to getting you in a little bit of trouble. But what will happen between that, what's going down, because the cases and everything else is falling off a cliff, and that's because we are vaccinating at a high rate. Right now down here, they're opening up more and more drive-through places all the time, and they expect by May to have enough, be able to vaccine every American. By May. Let me say it again. They expect by May. They were expecting by July, so we are 2 months ahead of schedule. Now, I will say this, and you can disagree, you can do whatever you want to, you can think whatever you want to, but people make everything political. But whenever it was said that during his first 100 days, he would get 100 million shots in people, and he would open up the schools. I mean, I'll be damned if he's not doing it. And whenever the schools and the daycares are vaccinated, which he put out a challenge to do that during the month of March, we really have a chance to get ahead of this. The only way out of it is through. That was the important thing to realize, that we took a couple of missteps last year when this could have been basically way less involved. The only way out is through. We had to get through it. It was going to be waves. And we're finally looking like we're getting there. So if you're up for a line for a vaccine, go get it. If not, this is the warning. This is the legit thing. For me, for instance, through brain surgery and everything else, for the last year, I've been a good soldier through all of this. I've social distanced, I've worn a mask, I've done all of that. Once I take the vaccine, that's probably going to go away. Now, if you take somebody that was a good soldier for the last year saying that, how will people act that were not a good soldier over the last year? So there's a chance for a concentration of spreading back and forth. So I would recommend going to get a vaccine, not necessarily because you believe it or anything like that, but because it's going to get more irresponsible in the future from even the most well-meaning people. But that's just a heads up on the vaccine at the moment. And we are basically at 25 minutes after. I'm probably going to give you a few minutes back. But tonight, baseball reaction, midweek reaction show. Tune in. It should be about 9:30, 10 o'clock-ish. Tune in for that. Tomorrow, there may not be a POMcast. I'm going to be scheduled for training between 10 and 2. So it's kind of a hard time frame to get it into. We might try to do a later show. We don't know. But plan on it not being a show tomorrow. And then Friday, I don't even know what the training hours are, so I can't even make plans. So it may not be a show on Friday as well. But this week on my other job, this will go away soon enough. But for the time being, this is the world we're living in. Tune in tonight, Ole Miss versus JSU, 6:30 on SEC Network Plus. Note that is not ESPN Plus, that is SEC Network Plus. The naming causes problems. But I will give you a little bit of time back. And we can go on to do whatever we need to do. So, let's see. Hope everybody had a good time. You can catch us on Twitter at @TheStephenWillis, at Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast, on Twitch at Positive Digital Media, or at YouTube at Positively Ole Miss or Willis Digital Media. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you tomorrow. If the show that's coming up tonight will be the finale. Not the finale, but just a weird week. So just bear with us. So take care and hotty toddy.